delighted to be here. It's a sentimental comeback, actually, to me. And the man responsible, you know, for bringing me here first time, I was Jim Kuhlman, Professor Kuhlman, whom I know even longer, for 40 years, Jim, isn't it? When we met at the Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois.
When you were 10, right?
And he didn't change much, I tell you. He didn't change much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is indeed a great pleasure to me to be here at this great university and to talk to you on this very strange topic: is Poland American Trojan horse in Europe? As Professor Smith just said, it might be a little bit strange and provocative, intellectual and politically title, but to tell you frankly, it reflects their thinking of the many European politicians about the role of Poland in contemporary Europe and particularly in the European Union. When I was as head of the Polish delegation to NATO Parliamentary Assembly and the other international parliamentary body, namely the Western European Parliamentary Assembly, for 14 years, I was very often asked by parliamentarians, particularly from France and Germany and other Western European countries, why Poland is so pro-American, why Poland wants to be an American Trojan horse in Europe. I usually reacted very calmly to that, but sometimes, to tell you frankly, I got nervous a little bit. And then I explained the French or German parliamentarian what was the Trojan horse in the Greek mythology. And then I said, United States does not need Poland to be in Europe, because United States is already in Europe. United States is already in Europe politically, through the common values with the European countries, through NATO, North Atlantic Alliance. It's present militarily in Europe, through 90,000 American armed forces, out of 66,000 of them are stationing in Germany, through American bases, also American nuclear weapons. You know, the Sixth Fleet, the American Sixth Fleet is equipped with nuclear weapons. And United States is present economically. It's present economically through its enormous trade relations. American export to Europe amounts over 250 billion US dollars. And import is even larger, almost 400 billion US dollars. So if you add to that also the East Central European trade, it amounts to about $700 billion. This is trade, the whole total trade between the United States and Europe. So Europe is the major market for American products, and also is #1 place for American investment. The total amount of American investment in Europe today is $1,250 billion US dollars. $1,250 billion US dollars. And Europe is #1, the financial, so to say, partner for the United States. It's #1 market for American investment. And if you add to this the presence of American culture, not necessarily the best one, to tell you frankly, the pop culture and so on in American culture in Europe. And if you remember the role of the United States in the development of science, and not only McDonald's, you understand that the United States is overwhelmingly present in Europe. So to say that the United States needs Poland to be present in Europe is absolutely, has no foundation. But there is no question that there are very strong pro-American sentiments in Poland today. I'm telling my Polish students there are 2 pro-American countries in the world. 2. One is the United States, and the other is Poland. And then I add, I'm not sure whether in that order. So there's no question that there are very strong pro-American sentiments in Poland, and I'm glad to note also that this is reciprocated here in this country. I have just in front of me the Gallup poll, which lists the countries toward which Americans have favorable opinion. And according to the Gallup poll, the number one country which you supposed to have the favorable opinion is Great Britain, with 91% of Americans having favorable opinion. Second is Canada, 86%. Third is Japan, 81%. And fourth, Poland, 78%. 78. Fourth, I'm very happy to see that Poland is so highly ranked in the favorable opinions which Americans are having about countries. At the very bottom are North Korea, is 13%, and Iran, 12%.
Where's France?
Sorry?
France.
France, 1, 2, 3. Huh. In the first 10, France is not listed. France had tremendous contribution to our American Revolution, you know. Lafayette, Rochambeau, you know, and the two monuments in front of the White House in the Lafayette Square, you know, you forgot about France. In the first 10 is not. Because the first 10 is, Poland is 4, then Mexico, India, Egypt, and Russia. Your Russia got on with 61% for favorable opinion. If you, ladies and gentlemen, analyze the bilateral relations between any two countries, we can probably, you agree with me that there are two sets of factors shaping and influencing the relations between two given countries. One set of factors are the sentiments, traditions, historical connections, and the other are interests, and multiple interests, political, economic, strategic, cultural, whatever. And so those are two basic set of factors which are influencing the bilateral relations between any two countries. Of course, if you ask me which set is more important, I will have no doubt that absolutely I will say interest. If interest coincide, the sentimental factors are dynamizing the relations. But if there is a contradiction between the interests, then sentimental factors would not help much. But in case of Polish-American relations, these historical sentimental factors are extremely important. This is an unusual situation when all those historical factors and sentiments influence very much thinking of Polish people about Americans and about the United States as a country. And let me just enumerate maybe 5 or 6 most important these sentimental factors which influence the Polish thinking about United States. First is the early Polish contacts with North America. Early. This year, in September, we will celebrate the 400 years since the arrival of the first Poles to North America, long before the United States proclaimed independence. They arrived in 1608 to Jamestown, Virginia, a year after the Jamestown settlement was established. Captain John Smith, who was the head of the colony, invited them. You know, he escaped from prison in Turkey, and probably not the shortest route, but through Poland to England, and probably he got acquainted with some of the Poles because he invited them to come, and they were craftsmen. They were specialists. They built the first wells, they produced stars, they built the first glass mill in Jamestown, and so on. And there are 2 interesting facts, well, actually one fact and my personal hypothesis connected with the presence of the first Polish people in Jamestown. One is the fact that in 1619, when the British Crown agreed that the settlers in Jamestown will elect the local self-government body called House of Burgesses, they deprived Poles right to vote and to be elected to run for this House of Burgesses. And how they behaved? Poles behaved how they do behave today. They organized first strike in Jamestown. And this was the first strike on North American soil, the first demonstration, you might call it, civil rights demonstration in North American soil. And since your legal system is based on precedents, of course,